Street raised, I was brought up where the G stayed. Peep game, those who didn't catch one to your brain. Stay in your lane, never wolfed it, boy, I never fake. Watch them break, watch them fall, still I remain. Never change, never try to come and rearrange. Never hate, never tripping on somebody's plate. That shit is lame, leave that type of shit for the dames. The streets don't play, oh catch up, watch your life as capes. One game, homie, that you shouldn't play. There's real soldiers in the streets gunning every day. This shit is normal in the vital part of every day. It ain't great, but I'm loyal, so I'll never change. I keep repeating, but I mean it, never lose your way. Heed the warning and the missing just for talking brave. Fuck my enemies, two faces and all the snakes. Now for this matter, just name the time and name the place. We'll get it active, fuck the gap, and I'm in face to face. Real gangsters never fold, then we never shake. I was brought up to.
You are now watching M.O.D Entertainment.
What's good, G-Life? Now, today we're going to be bouncing around from different locations, different spots, covering, different neighborhoods. Now, since I had already done the stoner episode where we covered all stoner Varrios, but stoner's not the only term that they use when we're talking about smokers, you know what I mean, with bud and everything like that. Keep it in mind. These neighborhoods were starting around the stoner age, you know what I mean? The stoner era where everybody, getting their smoke on, marijuana, is booming and popping. So you got a lot of these guys that were smokers. So today we shall be covering all Toker neighborhoods, barrios that have Tokers in their title, because there's a lot of Toker neighborhoods. And for those who don't know what a Toker is when you take a toke out of, when you take a puff out of, whatever you want to call it, So it's mostly for marijuana, but some could use it for, I guess, meth or, PCP or whatever. But it's mostly, referred to marijuana. So without further ado, let's get into it. For the ones that be crying on social media talking about, hey, you're taking our pictures and with the... Well, first of all the pictures get sent to me by homies from those barrios. You have any complaints, you take it out with them. You know what I mean? Because all the information gets sent to me by homies from those neighborhoods. I don't be snooping around nobody's shit. I don't got time for that. Second of all, who gave you permission to put those neighborhoods on the internet? Gave you permission to put their neighborhoods on the internet? See, they're telling me, hey, you're shooting me this and that. Homies from those neighborhoods. But who gave you permission to put their neighborhoods on there? Talk about, permissions and shit like that. People lost their damn minds. It's public law. But it gets sent to me. But shout out to, the real ones, that got at me. Hey, you know what? I got some pictures if you ever need them. And what they want came at me the right way. And, and talk like, like grown men, like gentlemen, instead of trying to act all big and bad on the fucking behind the screen and shit like that, like if you're tough. Boy, miss me with all that. But shout out to all the real ones, you know what I mean, that put out stuff out there, you know what I mean. You go check out their Instagrams and Facebooks or whatever the hell. I don't even know where people get their shit from, but you know what I mean. Some that I did see that came the right way was 818 Placazos, California Hit-Ups, Street Society, Orange County Varrios, Lost Art, I think are just some that came the right way and was like, hey, if you ever need anything, let me know. Came respectfully, how it should be. And like I said, everything gets sent to me, bro. I don't got time to be searching or snooping through anybody's shit. You know what I mean? Those are the facts. Everything else people are saying are assumptions. Assumptions are never facts. Let's get into it. Now, to find the first one, we're going to be covering the oldest and largest one first. This has to probably be the oldest and largest one out of, all these Toker neighborhoods. For this one, we actually have to travel to the area of Orange County, the OC. The OC is full of a gang of neighborhoods, and it definitely be popping up. But to be more exact, we will be heading towards the area of Fullerton. Yes, Fullerton is home to a lot of neighborhoods, not just, this neighborhood, but several other neighborhoods, so it does get chaotic. People have to keep this in mind. Orange County before was a very racist place. You had a lot of white supremacist groups, a lot of white, national, a lot of white gangs, KKK, to, white biker gangs, to a lot of racist people. Because there used to be a lot of white people in Orange County, so the, minorities that were settled there, the raza, would get mistreated, you know what I mean? They would get beat up, chased, all of that. You know what I mean? By these white individuals. So together, they all banded together and formed their their neighborhoods to protect themselves. That is why they started. I'm not saying that that is what it is now, because it manifested into a whole thing of its own now. But this is the home to the Varrio FTT. Varrio FTT translating to Varrio Fullerton Tokerstown. The Varrio Fullerton Tokerstown, like I said, was a neighborhood that was established roughly around the late 40s, early 50s when this neighborhood was established. It is Fullerton's largest, most active gang. You know what I mean? They've been hit with everything in the mud, in their mother, the kitchen sink, all of that, bro. They got hit with sweeps, made it on the news. All kinds of shit be going down with the Fullerton neighborhood. These guys ain't no joke. And like I said, obviously, Fullerton, Tokerstown, obviously Tokers, has nothing to do with the movie, the Duke of Roll is a different Tokerstown. That movie's not based off of this neighborhood, it's just coincidence. But the Varrio Tokerstown, obviously, it was a time, where you had a lot of marijuana, use, and, it was a smoker scene, and a lot of these kids, you know what I mean? And, like to puff a little reef, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, the Varrio Fullerton Tokerstown is no joke, bro. It is one of, Orange County's most well-recognizable barrio, and their territory is massive. Their territory it essentially is almost all of Fullerton. We're talking about, you can find their activities of this barrio from Magnolia all the way to Commonwealth. Their territory still stretches all the way to Raymond Avenue, and from Raymond all the way to Orange Thorpe Avenue and back around. So we're talking everything that's throughout what's the name of that street that cuts to their Valencia Drive? There you go, Valencia, that stretches throughout their barrio. You know what I mean? And Gilbert, all of that. We're talking about all of that, which is a massive amount of territory when you look at it from end to end. We're talking about, a decent amount of territory right here. You know what I mean? Where you can find these individuals. But obviously, the heart of their hood, their main domain, their dojo, is right there on the iconic, mural. Like, it's like a walk pathway. It's an iconic mural that you see right here in these photos where they hang out, and also on Truslow Street, the park as well. Truslord Park. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a park, where they hang out and do their thing. You know what I mean? And like I said, it's a massive barrio with more than 500 members to them, and continue to still be an active neighborhood and putting theirs on the map. Now, to find the next Tokers neighborhood, we actually have to be maneuvering our way to the city of Southgate. Yes, the city of Southgate is home to one of these Toker neighborhoods, which is referred as the Varrio SGT or SGTKS, which stands for Southgate Tokers. Southgate Tokers, which is separate from the rest of the Toker neighborhoods. Like I said, just common name. It's a common thing. People have a lot of cliques, with Toker in it. A lot of nickname of individuals being Toker. Toker is just a very common, word in this life. You know what I mean? And now, the Southgate Tokers was roughly a small neighborhood. At least from what I was told, that this neighborhood was roughly always about 50 to 60 members at its max. And this neighborhood right here, its territory is everything that's from Long Beach Boulevard to Palm Place to Seville Avenue all the way to Santa Ana Street all the way to Cypress Avenue and back around. So everything that slices through the Liberty section, Liberty Boulevard, that slices through the heart of the hood, which would be Liberty and like Evergreen, Liberty and Chestnut, Liberty and Mountain View, Liberty and Commercial, Beechwood. All of that is what's considered the Varrio, Southgate Tokers. And like I said, it's never been a large neighborhood, but nonetheless a real Varrio that did real things. And they still continue to be right there representing for theirs and continue to put theirs on the map for the Southgate Tokers. Now, to find the next neighborhood, we don't actually have to travel far. We actually have to be maneuvering our way to the area that is known as Compton, CPT. You already know Compton is home to dozens and dozens of neighborhoods, not just Hispanic, but blacks. It be cracking right here, you know what I mean? Shit be chaotic. And this is home to one of these Toker neighborhoods, which is known as the Varrio CVTKS. CVTKS standing for Compton Varrio Tokers. Compton Varrio Tokers is a neighborhood that has been well established here since the 70s that this group was established. roughly started off as a group of individuals that just hanged out and like to smoke and chill, you know what I mean? And then manifested into, the neighborhood that we know of it today. This is a neighborhood that has made headlines, you know what I mean? You go check them out yourselves. These guys were definitely making noise and making moves. Hey, they're not to be slept on, bro. These guys will handle business, you know what I mean? There's a few incidents, where they went on a spree, and it's crazy. But yeah, the Compton Barrio Tokers, their neighborhood is everything that's from uh, Caldwell Street all the way to Burris Avenue to Greenleaf. Greenleaf, their neighborhood stretches back to Long Beach Boulevard. So everything that's in the middle is considered their barrio. So that's throughout Temple Avenue, like Temple and Benet, Temple, and not just Temple, but Swan Avenue, Glencore Avenue, all of that is considered their barrio. It's not really much of a big territory, but nonetheless, it's theirs. And this neighborhood was never roughly a large neighborhood. From what I was told, there are roughly a few hundred members to them. So there's a few hundred of them. So they're not small, but they're not big. They're just average size. You know what I mean? A few hundred, that's still, that's still a decent number. And the Compton Barrio Tokers, like I said, they've been here since the 70s, kicking up and doing their thing. People roughly started hearing more about them like roughly around the later 80s, early 90s, but they were around, before that. And like I said, none of these groups have anything, to do with each other. It's just common name, but there's another, Toker Barrio that be holding it down. Now, to find the next barrio on the list, we actually have to travel to my hometown, the San Fernando Valley. To be more exact, to the city of Van Nuys. Van Nuys is home to one of these Toker neighborhoods that people often get misconstrued. They think it's a crew. They think that they're the same ones from LA. They came down here. No. These guys are separate from these other groups. These guys started off as a tagging crew. Started off as a tagging crew in the 80s that manifested into a gang, was it True King Squad or something like that? But they had many, meanings, whatever. Then they, switched to Tokers. They were always like gangbangers, you know what I mean? They were always with the business. So they've been around for a while already, since the 80s. They weren't a deep neighborhood, but nonetheless, they still had a presence, at least up to 50 members from what I was told. Since then, they say the number has grown. But, I don't have an exact number of like how many, is grown after that. It is known as the Southside Tokers, or just Tokers, TKS, or sometimes you see it's Southside Tokers, but it's, just TKS Tokers. And this Tokers neighborhood is right here in Van Nuys. Everything that's throughout Sherman Way, allowed to Cantlay, Wayne Dot, Woodman, Leadwell, all of that, throughout, where the Vons at on Sherman Way, all that areas was considered their barrio, throughout Woodman, throughout Valerio. So it would be Woodman or Sherman Way, all the way to like where like Valerio's at, or the waterbed, the riverbed, and then all the way to Woodman Place. So everything that's in the middle is considered their barrio. It's not a large chunk of territory, but still, nonetheless, it's theirs. You know what I mean? And it's right there in the heart of the danger zone, where you got Vanoans right there, you got AKs, you got Lennox, you got, Van Nuys, Barra Van Nuys, which is the largest. You got MS. It should be chaotic, bro. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, the Tokers have been right there, established, holding it down, and representing theirs and putting theirs on the map. Now, to find the next neighborhood on the list, we actually have to be maneuvering our way to a different location now, to heading towards the area of Washington. These are out-of-state sureños. Yes, they are Southerners, even though they're brown raggers. They also use the blue rag, but they use them both. And these are located in Washington and Oregon, throughout that area, which is known as the Barrio BPT. Barrio BPT, translating to Barrio Brown Pride Tokers. Brown Pride Tokers is a neighborhood that has been established since the 90s that it was established. And it grew in numbers pretty fast, you know what I mean? And often do you see, sometimes, you see homies with green rights around them, whatever, or you see them with riding a lot, hanging out with Vatos Locos, which is another gang that's over there that are homeboys, but they're green raggers, but they're homeboys. But they're clicked up together, so they're two different neighborhoods, but they're clicked up. You know what I mean? They got each other's back, going at it with, other, gangs, Northerners, Cribs, and off, branches, because you do have gangs, from Texas there, or Chicago, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? From different areas. So homeboys, gather together. But these two groups are clicked up. And the Brown Pride Tokers is a real neighborhood, not a crew like I was seeing people put and stuff like that, or they're small, whatever. No, they're actually a pretty decent sized gang for that area, you know what I mean? At least from what I was told, is they're roughly around 70, 80 members to them. So that's pretty decent, for it being that area. And they still continue to represent theirs and put it down for the Brown Pride Tokers. And now moving on to another different area where we're able to find another homeboy neighborhood. We actually have to maneuver our way to the area of Las Vegas. To be more exact, to the Eastwood portion of Las Vegas. Eastwood, definitely an area that cracks, you know what I mean? You get families that move from, California, and they move into these areas, and, the kids are already... how could I say, corrupted, and already have that mental, and then they just, spread it out over there. It gets chaotic, you know what I mean? Because right here you have the barrio that is known as EWTKS. EWTKS, known as Eastwood Tokers. Eastwood Tokers is well established, right here since the later 90s, mid to later 90s when it was established. And at least I was told it was roughly about 40 to 45 members. Also made the news and headlines, you know what I mean? Got hit with, stuff because they were doing shit, you know what I mean? Shit was going down, right there in the Carson City, different from the one from LA. And they were located on Como Street. Como Street is, their domain, their dojo, where they handle business. And they still continue to be, an active neighborhood right there that's well known and well respected in that part of the area, the Eastwood Tokers. Another barrio that we have, now this one being different to the one that I covered in Van Nuys, this is known as the barrio SST. SST translating to Barrio Southside Tokers. Barrio Southside Tokers is a neighborhood that has been established since the mid-90s that it was established. And from what I was told, is that this neighborhood actually started in Washington, and then they spread to Oregon, and then they had spread to Northern California. That they had two brothers that had moved from Oregon to the Bay Area, and they recruited right there, and they got up to like 14 members, in the Bay Area. So I guess that's establishment. But the Southside Tokers is a real neighborhood, not a crew, and I was seeing people put Southside Traviesos and stuff like that. No, it has always been referred. There is a Southside Travieso, but this one, Southside Travieso, is TVS. These ones were always known as SST, and sometimes you see it up as TKS, but it's rare. It's mostly just SST, at least from what I was told, SST13. So the Southside Tokers is a separate neighborhood than the one from Van Nuys, and it is a real barrio that's been representing in those locations, the Bay, Washington, and Oregon, and continue to still put it down for theirs.